Walkers. Hello, Faith Walkers. This is Dr. Andrea, your inspirational guide, as well as your faith mentor. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. The next 7 to 10 minutes are not only going to be a good experience that we'll have together, but also my prayer that it would be a growth experience. My prayer is that I would actually say something that would enhance your life. And thank you so much again for your time. I started the Faith Over Fear movement, Faith Walkers, and YouTube channel to inspire you as well as inspire myself. Today's topic that I would like to share is very near and dear to my heart. It's called Victor or Victim. And the reason why it's near and dear to my heart is because I'm going to be transparent. And can we be transparent, faith walkers? On this journey of life, we go through trials and we go through tribulations. A lot of times when we begin to discuss and talk about some things that we've been through, that's actually healing and therapeutic for us. In addition to that, not only does it help us, but it also helps the hearer of that. I want to share with you something that happened to me about 4 decades ago. When I was a little girl, I was 8 years old, and my older sister was actually babysitting me. And I was outside, and she allowed me to go outside and play double dutch, and I was having a good time with my little friends. And I just heard some screaming. We lived in a home that had an upstairs, and I heard some screaming coming from the upstairs window. And I looked up and I saw my sister screaming. She was about 21 at the time, and I saw her screaming. And she was saying she was being physically beaten by her new husband. And I witnessed that, me along with some of my friends, and she was saying, help me, please, someone help me. Well, I didn't know what to do. I was 8 years old. I didn't know to, call for help. And this was her husband. So I was like, wow, he's a friend. He's my brother-in-law. What do I do as a little girl? And so what happened at that moment, there was a seed planted right there. And I'm going to go back to the seed that was planted. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. About 7 years later, she said, first of all, when I was 8 years old, she said, somebody help me. He's going to kill me. And at that time, I froze. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I looked at my friends, we stopped everything. And I'm going to fast forward to 7 years later. 7 years later, she was killed. She was murdered at the hands of another suitor. It wasn't her husband that murdered her, but it was a long-time boyfriend that she had after she divorced her husband. And I was 15 years old, and at that point, a seed of victimhood was planted in me, because I said to myself, if I had saved her when I was 8 years old, this wouldn't have happened when I was 15 years old. And so I started not liking myself. I started not liking who I was. And that seed of victimhood actually changed the entire trajectory of my life. My life was not the life that God wanted me to have. And I didn't forgive myself. I hated myself. I didn't like who I was. I thought other people, didn't like me because of what I didn't stop. I couldn't save her when I was 8 years old. But I want to talk to you from a topic called Victor or Victim. Are you a victor, faith walker, or are you a victim? Do you have a victim mindset? Let's dig in. There are 2 types of people in this world, faith walkers. Those who hold themselves accountable and they're proactive, and those who are blamers. They are victims. They are reactive people. I realize that those 2 types of people are just victors, people who take responsibility and they hold themselves accountable, or the victims, the blamers. They blame people, they blame parents, they blame life, they blame the man for their current situation, for their current circumstance. It's always somebody else's fault. They never hold themselves accountable. And I blamed myself. I didn't necessarily hold myself accountable, but I didn't like myself my victimhood was I did not like myself because I didn't save my sister at the hands of this person that murdered her. I remember I was reading a book by Steve Covey, and Steve Covey says responsibility is the ability to choose your response. And I want to say that again. Responsibility is your opportunity to choose your response. You see, proactive people are forward thinkers. What they do, they recognize responsibility and they act upon it. So they see yellow flags before they see a yellow light before they even see that red flag or that red light. And then they begin to act. Instead of waiting till something happen and then they become reactive. Victims, their whole life is just reactive. It's just chaos. They never plan. It's somebody else's fault. But what proactive people do, what victors do, instead of blaming circumstances, instead of blaming situations for their situation, instead of blaming people for their situation, what they do is conforming to conditions. What they do is, instead of conforming to conditions, they are transformed by the changing of their thinking. They are transformed by the changing of their thinking. And what do we mean by that? In Romans 12:2, it talks about reactive people are much like reactive power batteries, right?